This show contains spoilers and adult language. Listener discretion is advised.
Movies with Ron, movies with Ron.
Hell yeah, motherfucker.
Movies with Ron.
I got an idea for a new extended universe.
Oh, yeah?
Planet of the Apes movies. We got through the first rebooted trilogy. Then we're going to do that second trilogy.
Right.
Where they're the bad guys.
Yeah.
Humans take over again in that one. Charlton Heston, whatever, I don't know. But the apes are getting defeated, and all of a sudden they sprout wings. Then, like, portals open up on the planet. And then they go to the Wizard of Oz world.
Nope.
But I can imagine a guy, like, at some studio. He's, like, running the mailroom. But if I could only get to the 20th floor and talk to Mr. Miller and tell him my ideas. Welcome to episode 61 of Movies with Ron, the podcast where my older brother surprises me with a movie he saw because I don't go see him anymore. And he explains the whole thing to me from beginning to end. Keep listening and you'll end up liking his versions better. It's okay if you've seen the movie. It's okay if you haven't seen it. The experience is unique, so let's get it on. I'm Chris, your MC for the time being. Here with me tonight, our sound and sample guy, Rick.
Hello, kids.
And here he is, folks.
He's the ball cracker, death on foot. You know him, you love him. He's Ron.
Ron.
Hey, Ron.
Hey, everybody. Glad to be back.
Are we ready for some dark western fantasy?
Oh, hell yeah, man. Let's do it.
The Dark Tower by Stephen King. Based on his series of books.
Yeah.
This is the new movie. They've been trying to make it for a while, I guess.
Around about 10 years.
Yeah. Combine Lord of the Rings with cowboys, and you got The Dark Tower.
Yep.
But that's the thing is, I tried reading these books when I was a teenager.
So did I.
I remember.
But I found that there's too much of an homage to everything that he's read, that he liked. Like, there's too much Lord of the Rings.
Yeah?
You know, it's hard to explain, but part of me's like, we don't need to see The Dark Tower because we saw Lord of the Rings because he, like, paid such a close respect to it in the books.
Oh.
You know what I'm saying? Same thing with, there's a lot of King Arthur lineage mythology in The Dark Tower. The Dark Tower is like a serious Rick and Morty. There's portals that go in for different universes.
I know.
So, like, King Arthur and his knights in our universe was something different in the Dark Tower universe.
Yeah.
And
Roland's guns are made out of the steel melted from Excalibur.
oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I heard they're pretty heavy-handed with the exposition.
No, not at all, man.
Oh, really?
Oh, God, no.
All
They
right.
drop you in the thick of things, and they either expect you to have read the books or have your friends tell you about them.
But yeah, folks, the Dark Tower series, the hero is Roland Deschain. Do I have that right?
Roland Deschain, that's right.
Yeah. So the first book was The Gunslinger, published in 1982.
Yeah, it's a little short book.
Yeah. Then came The Drawing of the Three in 1987.
That always weirded me out. When I saw the titles like on your shelf, I was like, why isn't that the third book?
Is the second, but it ends up being the best, in my opinion.
Yeah.
The third one was The Wastelands in 1991. Now, here's the thing about Stephen King. His life and career has gone through sagas because of certain events in his life. He's had 3 acts in his life. And after The Wastelands, because I like the first 3 of the Dark Tower books.
Yeah.
The Wastelands was kind of losing it for me. They kept getting longer, and they kept fucking with shit. The Wastelands even has where they go on this big train ride, and the train is sentient.
Yeah, the living train.
Yeah, and they have like a riddle contest on the train with the train.
Yeah.
It's like The Hobbit with that dude.
Fucking Gollum.
Yeah, down in those caves. But here's the thing. The Wastelands was published in 1991 when Stephen King went to rehab.
Yeah.
So yeah. The dates are too close. I'm thinking he wrote The Wastelands and he was like, holy shit, I need to go to rehab. Yeah. Okay, because after that, the 4th volume came out in 1997 called Wizard and Glass. All right, so we've been following Roland Deschain, all right, and he gets the rest of his quartet, they call it, his group of warriors named Jake, Eddie, and Susanna.
Yeah, the Fellowship of the Ring.
Yeah. But the Wizard and Glass was even bigger. It was bigger than the first 3 books combined.
I know.
All right? And it was all a flashback to Roland as a teenager when he, became a man. And that's when I stopped reading. Now, there's more books, though. There's 3 more.
Yep.
All right? But these 3 books happened after Stephen King got hit by that van.
Yeah. 1999?
Something like that.
Yeah.
That was the other turning point in his life.
Yeah.
That was when his books changed. We noticed a difference. He became an old man.
Yeah.
I get hit by vans now.
I am conscious of mortality. Because the whole Dark Tower series is like his, it's the love of his life. It's his magnum opus. And that happened and he was like, fuck, I better finish this.
Yeah.
So he just banged the rest of them out, one after the other.
Totally.
They're called The Wind Through the Keyhole, Wolves of the Calla, and The Dark Tower.
There you go. And Stephen King made himself a character.
He did.
Because the books ended up getting very meta.
Yes.
Because of the whole multiple universes thing.
Right.
So, anyways. Roland's world is Midworld. And, who can't make a comparison to Middle-earth? What the fuck?
I know, right?
Midworld? All right. Midworld is the Old West, but before that Old West happened, there was technology and magic.
And nuclear war, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
I think it was those two warring against each other. Out of the apocalypse that made, the Old West came about, and then cowboys and shit started happening in this universe, in Roland's universe. But you still see, it may be like a Wild West town, but people have little gadgets on their ears and shit of the old world, you know?
Yeah.
And then other people know spells and shit. So it's a weird little mythology.
A lot of psychics walking around.
Yeah. Stephen King's trying to build a world, and he never has before. That's what made his writing so great, was he based everything in our world. Except the Dark Tower. The Dark Tower is him trying to make something epic.
Yeah.
There's killer crabs at one point.
Yeah, that was in the second book.
Yeah. I always remember the weird language he gave the crabs. It was like, Didichik. Didichik. All this hyphenated crap. And it's making the crabs talk. But they're giant crabs, so they'll cut off your feet or some shit.
Yeah.
So you got Roland, the main hero, and the bad guy is Walter O'Dim, the Man in Black.
The Man in Black.
All right. Stephen King is very explicit that this character also goes by the name Randall Flagg.
Correct.
Which, if you're a fan of Stephen King, you'll remember him from other books like
The Stand.
And Eyes of the Dragon.
Right.
Also, he's in Hearts in Atlantis somewhere in one of those stories. But here's the thing, what I was thinking of. In those books, he also mentions he also goes by the name Legion. And Legion is a bad guy in other Stephen King books.
Yeah.
Is that who he is? Storm of the Century? That miniseries he did? I think, you could also say Randall Flagg might be the bad guy in Needful Things. Because there's always a comparison between Randall Flagg and the devil.
Yeah.
And Needful Things, the bad guy was pretty much the devil.
Yeah.
Anyways, in the Dark Tower mythology, Walter O'Dim, the Man in Black, we find out he's just the second in command bad guy. And the real bad guy is the Crimson King.
Yes, all hail the Crimson King.
Yeah. And he is pretty firmly established that in our universe of real people in Earth, the Crimson King is Satan.
Uh-huh.
All right, but in Roland's universe,
He's just a guy.
yeah, he was a guy who like got corrupted and learned magic, and now he's been living for thousands of years. Same thing with the Man in Black, been living hundreds of years. They know magic. The Crimson King is like the Emperor. Walter O'Dim is like Darth Vader, basically. But the Crimson King, see, this is he's trying to like make his universe here out of all his books, connecting it with the Dark Tower. The Crimson King emits deadlights, the same thing that the bad guy from It, the character It, gets involved with.
Right.
Yeah.
Digging pretty deep into the books here, man.
That's it. That's all I got on the books.
Well, now you have to talk about the deadlights.
What are the deadlights, Ron?
The deadlights are where it lives outside of our dimension. What we can perceive of the character It takes the form of a giant spider.
Uh-huh.
And it's said that that's the closest we can even come to perceiving its true form, which exists within the deadlights. If a human glimpses the deadlights, it drives them insane instantly. So it's very Lovecraftian, from the get-go.
Anyways, those are the books, the Dark Tower books. They're a big deal. But there's like prequel comic books, They made an online game called Discordia. People like the Dark Tower.
Oh, yeah, it's very well loved, man.
Yeah.
You're kind of shitting on it here.
Only because of what I've heard about the movie.
Yeah.
Let's not get there yet. Then Ron Howard wanted to make a movie. This was like back in the early aughts. This was the Dark Tower at Universal Pictures.
Actually, J.J. Abrams was the first director who was wanting to do it.
Okay. There was J.J. Abrams. That didn't last long, though.
Correct.
And then it went to Ron Howard. He wanted to make a trilogy of films. And then in between those films were TV show seasons to bridge the gaps between them.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh my God. It was, at the time, it was like unheard of.
Yeah. Ron Howard understood how epic
Yeah.
the telling would need to be.
He even said HBO was going to do the show versions, those parts.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was going to be a big thing. Russell Crowe was going to play Roland.
At one point, Javier Bardem was going to play Roland.
I heard that. But, no. Couldn't reach a deal with Universal. Too fucking big and gigantic.
Yeah. Too scary.
Ron Howard said he'd find another studio, but HBO was still doing the TV show. They were still committed.
Uh-huh.
So they went to Warner Brothers. At that point, Russell Crowe had dropped out, and Warner Brothers was like, we'll make one movie.
Yeah.
We'll see how it does. But then what I'm assuming was the Marvel invasion. Warner Brothers started committing to their DC universe, and Dark Tower got thrown out. All right. So then there's the movie we have now that was made by Sony and MRC. They made the Dark Tower, and it turns out that at the end of the Dark Tower books, the Dark Tower is a whole loop.
Yeah, he's stuck in a time loop.
Yeah. It's a Groundhog Day kind of thing. So he kind of like relives those books over and over.
Yeah, but different things can happen.
Right. The saga repeats, though. And that's what this movie is.
Yeah, the first line of the first book is, "The man in black fled across the desert, and the gunslinger followed." That is also the last line of the last book. So when he reaches the Dark Tower, the god entity of this multiverse transports him back in time to the beginning of the saga with no memories. And at the end of the 8th book, he was like, "Maybe this time around, Roland. Maybe this time." And one thing was different, is he had in his possession something called the Horn of Eld, which he hadn't had on any of the other cycles. So it is implied that the next cycle might be the last, and this movie is the beginning of that cycle.
Yeah.
And in the movie, he never, ever holds up or talks about the Horn of Eld, but eagle-eyed viewers can see it poking out of his bag.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. That's not bad. So, like, the movie is trying to follow the meta-ness of the books.
Yeah.
And it's not an adaptation at all.
It is not.
They could take whatever they wanted from the books.
It is a big excuse to fuck up the adaptation.
And it's almost like people that would be outraged no longer have the right to be now.
Right. But that's not stopping them.
Turns out the Dark Tower movie was plagued with reshoots and bad test screenings.
Yeah.
Most of the thing takes place in the city, it looks like, from the trailers.
Yep.
Not a big part of the books, at least early on. You know, they took that route of doing their own cycle because it would save money.
Oh yeah, the presentation of this movie is definitely smells like the easy way out. Watching this movie felt like watching Michael Bay's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Like, you could tell there were problems.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, man. Because I think Stephen King sucks at world building. I don't think the Dark Tower succeeded. The books did. So I'm like, well, are they doing it in the city because they want to do it themselves? Should I be excited because I wasn't hot on what Stephen King did? Or do I want to see a filmmaker who, like, wants to take a crack at an actual adaptation? I don't know.
At the end of the first book, Roland is faced with a choice between pursuing Walter O'Dim or saving the child Jake, who's like hanging over a crevasse. And he chooses to go after Walter and let Jake fall. And it's things like that, choices like that, that we're led to believe the god entity, Gan, is punishing Roland for, and that's why he's in this endless cycle.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Sacrificing friends.
I mean, you could totally just make the first book into a movie.
Oh, yeah.
It's so short and sweet. You got a whole sequence where the man in black, he corrupts a whole town, and Roland ends up having to shoot up the whole town. All of the villagers.
Yeah, that's
are
your
possessed into fighting him.
That's your big epic gunfight.
Yeah. That would be a cool opener, you know? And then you got the slow mutants.
Yeah.
Man, there's these caves, Rick, and Roland and the kid Jake, they got torches. They're going through the cave. It's the only way they can get through. They're following the man in black.
Right.
There's these guys called the slow mutants, and they move in slow motion, right? But then, like, everywhere they go at every turn, they're slow mutants. So it's like a fucking unique bad guy, you know?
Right.
A challenge like that. It's not really zombies.
Yeah, to hear it described, it sounds, whoa, that's a pretty easy bad guy to get away from.
Yeah.
Except there's like hundreds of them.
Right. It's Idris Elba's first big hero role.
Yeah, man, big Driss.
He finally got something. You can tell he's hungry for it. He needs something.
Oh, yeah.
Someone asked him if he was ever offered Bond, would he take it? And he's like, in a heartbeat.
Right.
Like, he wants a thing to call his own.
Mm-hmm.
But it turns out he prefers to play the villain. Here's a quote from him. I find villains way more compelling to unearth their psyche. Writers love writing for villains because they can get a lot more off their chest, and it just means a lot more stuff for the actor to do. But good guys are also a challenge because if you don't get the balance between being real and being, you know, a stereotypically good guy, your character can come across as corny.
Yeah.
I mean, he says he prefers to play the villain, but that's because that's what he's been stuck with. Like, he wants something, and he was going to be Roland.
What's he been the villain in?
He was the big villain in The Wire.
Oh.
I don't know, other stuff.
Oh, yeah, Star Trek. That last one.
There you go.
That's right. Thank you, Heather.
But yeah, Idris Elba as Roland, and Walter O'Dim, the man in black, is played by Matthew McConaughey.
Yep.
Who chose to do this movie instead of playing Star-Lord's father in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Why did he choose this?
Yeah, from the outset, it seems more like a much more compelling character. And everybody loves Stephen King.
Yeah.
The gravity of the chance to be the man in black, you know?
Uh-huh.
I don't know if I'd be able to pass that up either.
But he would play a planet.
That was dumb.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
You didn't like it. I didn't like it either. Okay. Here's a quote from Mr. McConaughey. He says, "I'm a loner and proud of it. I can be the world's most sociable guy, and I love few things more than throwing a barbecue for my crowd. But being alone is where it's mostly at for me. Nothing beats the feeling of taking off on my own and driving to wherever the road takes me. I'll drive as far as I can drive, 1,700 miles in one stretch, if the mood takes me."
In a free Lincoln. All right.
When I left Ireland after filming Reign of Fire, I went backpacking on my own in Africa for 26 days. I floated on the Niger River, raced camels in the Sahara Desert, had myself a blast.
Jesus.
Yeah, all by himself. Must have been a hard choice, because both of these characters, choosing Star-Lord's dad or the Man in Black, they're all these loner types.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like he's been playing the rom-com guy for so long, back when we used to laugh at him.
Yeah.
And it like wasn't him, really.
Yeah.
Like he was born too hot for his own good. Now that he's older, he can do his impressive shit. But yeah, I was excited. Him playing the Man in Black.
Yeah.
But they say he has like a building with a room full of hackers.
Yeah, he does.
What the fuck?
The Man in Black has a big fucking, like, a big team of computer geeks that, like, run his evil for him.
I don't get it, man. But yeah, you ready?
Yeah, let's do it. But before we do, I want to give a shout out to Jimmy Lansing. He's one of our newest listeners, and he is loving the show. Approached me in person.
Thanks, Jimmy.
Yeah, had nothing but love for it. So thanks, Jimmy.
Jimmy.
There's a TV series coming out.
Mm-hmm.
Supposed to supplement this movie.
Oh, so they're trying to do that thing,
And
kind
it's
of?
the it's like the origin of Roland Deschain.
Oh.
Idris Elba was slated to be involved. Like he was going to be doing voiceovers in the beginning and the end, of each episode, I guess.
Uh-huh.
He is no longer attached to that project.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
All right, folks. Load up your 6 guns and remember the face of your father. Because it's time for the Dark Tower on Movies with Ron.
It's showtime.
Yeah.
Get the people out. Come on. Get the people out.
All right, so we start off with a bunch of logos, one of which is for the Tet Corporation. Do you get that?
Is it from the books?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Good for them.
Yeah. Little Easter egg there.
Yeah. I heard they got some Easter eggs in here.
There's a whole bunch, yeah. And then by way of exposition, we just get some blurb on the screen that says, "There's a tower in the center of the universe that protects us from all the darkness. It is said that only a child can bring it down." And then it says, "The Dark Tower." So then we start off outside, and there's like a whole bunch of kids like playing out in the yard, in the grass and stuff. It's like a whole shit ton of kids. Mm-hmm. And there's all these weird little houses around them, and all the houses have numbers on them that are 1919. The camera pans up, and we see behind them is this big, giant, black fucking pyramid, volcano-looking thing. And that's like the Man in Black's big center of operations.
Really?
Yeah.
Is this our universe?
No.
Okay.
But they are human kids. And then this siren goes off, and then all the kids like look at each other like, oh shit. And then maybe a third of them have to get up and leave the game and just go into the pyramid, where they all get sat down and strapped into these weird fucking chairs. And the chairs have like crap hooked onto their heads and shit, and it's like leeching their fucking brain power. And these children are powering this giant laser beam that then fires out of the pyramid and shoots across Midworld and hits the Dark Tower. As it hits the Dark Tower, there's like this big wave of like a big red veil around it, and you can see like the shadows of monsters on the other side, like trying to get out and shit. Like the fabric of reality is trying to tear open.
Mm-hmm.
And right then, the kid, Jake, wakes up in his bed. Oh, God. He's having a nightmare. Okay, it was all his dream.
Oh, okay.
But there's a fucking earthquake happening. And so all the shit in his room is shaking around. And his young blonde mom walks in, and she's like, hey, babe, was it another bad dream? And he's like, yeah, kind of. So he's sitting at his breakfast table, and he's drawing. That's what he does. And he's drawing a kid strapped into a chair with his mind being fucking electrified. I don't fucking know.
Yeah.
So his mom and his new stepdad are talking. We know it's his stepdad because he looks at a photo of his real father, and he's like, oh, man, this sucks.
Oh.
Yeah. His stepdad, who is a major dick. And for the longest time in this movie, I thought his name was Ron. But it turns out his name is Lon.
Okay.
Like when it first happened, I was like, oh man, what an asshole. And I looked over at Heather, and I was like, is his name Ron? She just goes, yep.
Lon. Is he like Asian or something?
No, I think it's short for Lonnie. I don't fucking know.
Oh, there you go.
But isn't Lonnie short for something? Lawnfeld.
Lawnward. Lawnfield.
Lonnies of the world, tell us what your real name is. So his parents are arguing about all of his mental problems. And Lon is like, we're fucking wasting our money on all of these shrinks. And his mother is like, he's making progress, And it shows inside of his bedroom, and his entire wall is just covered in drawings of all of these dreams he's been having. And we see like, fucking gunslingers and men in black and towers all over the place and shit,
Yeah.
So then he's at school, and he gets picked on by a bully who takes his notebook while he's drawing. And Jake is just like, motherfucker, give me that back! And just fucking punches the kid. Like, defends himself very well.
Why don't you go home and fuck your mother some more?
Little Stephen King shout out there.
So the principal walks up, and she's like, you know what, why don't you just go home and cool off? And I was like, that would not happen. So it cuts to him at his shrink's office, and his shrink has like a picture of the Overlook Hotel on his desk.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
It's just an Easter egg. Pretty sure the Overlook Hotel showed up in the book series somewhere.
I stayed here once.
Yeah.
I should savor this memory.
So he's like, these dreams, Jake, you're having a whole bunch of dreams, man. What's going on? He's like, yeah, man, there's a big tower, and I keep seeing a man in black and a whole bunch of creepy assholes, and there's these guys that have, like, fake skin on. Because in his dream, like, in the place where all the kids were getting hooked up, there were people, but you could see that the sides of their face had, like, seams on them that were, like, kind of coming undone.
Oh, that's weird.
So they were definitely, like, a different race masquerading as humans. Readers of the book would know them as Cantoy, I think. And his doctor's like, well, what happens if this dark tower falls? And the kid's just like, fire and darkness. And the doctor's like, oh, man. Okay, so I totally get it. This is all about your dad. He's like, well, what do you mean? Well, your dad was a fireman and he died in a huge fire. That's what you're describing. Hell on earth. That's how he died. None of this is real, man. So then it cuts to him leaving, and he's out on the street. We are in New York City, by the way. So it's all like hustling and bustling.
Okay.
He walks out, and he immediately sees some dude standing on a street corner whose face looks like it's not pulled on correctly. Okay? And the guy even reaches up and like adjusts it. And Jake's like, what the fuck? And then some homeless bum is walking by, and he's like, you! They want you! It's your mental powers that they want, man!
Uh-oh.
So he gets home, and his parents are, they're having a talk. And he's like, what the fuck's going on here? And his mom is like, hey, listen, there is a new clinic, and it is upstate, and they specialize in kids like you, troubled teens. How about we send you to it? It'll be like camp. And Jake's just like, yeah, okay, fine. His friend Timmy or Tommy walks in, and Jake's like, do you think I'm crazy? And he's like, fuck yeah, batshit crazy. So then he's in his room, and he can actually hear his mom crying on the other side of the wall, saying, he used to be such a happy child. So then Jake's like, all right, man, that's it. Don't want to hurt my mom anymore. It's time to fake being normal. So he just like rips all of his drawings down, hides them in a drawer, gets in bed and just says to himself, okay, no more dreams. Then we cut to daylight somewhere else and we just hear this whistling, okay? And then we see the man in black, Matthew McConaughey, walking around, looking at all these dead people on the ground. Walks up to one of them. He's not dead yet. He's dying, though. And he's like, yeah, get ready, man. You're going to the other side. All right. The guy's like dying, and he just goes like, go to hell. And he's like, ha, I've been there. I burned. And then it shows his hand, and it's like, covered in fire. All right.
Where are they?
We are in Midworld.
Okay.
This is right after some huge battle, because right then we cut to Roland.
All right.
Making his last stand back-to-back with his father, Stephen Deshane, played by the almighty Dennis Haysbert. You know him. He's the Allstate guy.
You probably have a deductible of $500 on your car insurance.
Roland turns to him and he's like, we've lost.
No, not while the tower still stands.
Are they wearing cowboy hats?
They are not.
What do you think about that?
That was a big issue for all the readers.
Yeah.
No cowboy hats. Now, I found out about this. Stephen King was like, hey, where's the hats, you guys? And the movie executives looked at him and said, well, statistically, movies that where the hero wears a cowboy hat throughout the entire thing, those movies don't do very well.
All right.
And then Stephen King looked at him and he was like, Denzel Washington wore his hat all the way through Magnificent Seven, and that movie did amazing. And they were like, yeah, okay. And then he was like, they never talked about it ever again. So they're back to back, and then they hear the man in black whistling. So they're like, oh, shit. So they hold up their guns, which are these really awesome long 6-shooters, okay?
Yeah.
And they're just like, getting ready. And they can hear the whistling coming from like all around them. And the camera like spins around with them. It's pretty cool. As they're getting ready to face this guy down, they start saying the Gunslinger's Creed together.
Oh.
You remember that from the preview?
I kill with my heart.
Yeah, they're like, I do not aim with my hand. Or I do not...
I aim with my gun.
Yeah. I do not kill with my gun. I aim with my heart. Wow.
My gun doesn't kill people. I kill people. Fucking NRA shit.
Yeah. Right then, the man in black just appears, looks at Roland's dad, and just goes, stop breathing. And then Dennis Haysbert just fucking goes down.
Oh,
like,
geez.
choking and holding his fucking neck with his hands and shit. Roland's just like, oh, fuck. And he's like, oh, dad, no. And he's like holding him. And his dad, he's able to like choke out like one last thing.
It's time to make the world a better place to drive. Let's all state stand. Are you in good hands?
And then he's dead.
Why doesn't he do that to Roland?
Well, I'll tell you. The man in black then looks at Roland and he's like, nah, you, Roland, all right. You've always been able to resist my magics.
Okay.
And he says that a lot in this movie. My magics. All right. And he's like, the tower will fall. And Roland's just like, fuck you, face me. And he starts shooting at him. Matthew McConaughey catches his fucking bullets.
Nice.
Right then, Jake wakes up in his bed again, like he was dreaming that, okay?
Yeah.
And he had also gotten a flash of this weird house. You know, looked like it was somewhere here, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So then he immediately draws the gunslinger, you know, Roland Deshane, and then he also draws the house. He posts his drawing of the house on Reddit, and he's like, where is this? Right then, Lon walks in, and he's like, hey, man, the people from the clinic are here. Did you pack your shit? So Jake's like, I can't go yet, man. I just posted this shit on Reddit. And his mom's like, come on, get your bag together. It's time to go. It's time to go. He sees a couple of replies that are like, the answer to his question, where is this? One of them is like, up your butt. And then finally one says, oh yeah, that's my old hood, Dutch Hill, New York. So he comes out into the living room and he meets the two people that are there to collect him for the clinic. One is this fucking weird lady, and the other is this fucking weird guy who's the driver, okay, of the van.
Mm-hmm.
He looks at the driver's face, and he has got a fucking seam running down the side of his face. And he's looking down at the lady's hands, because the lady's all like, hey, it's going to be great. It's just a couple of days, and we specialize in shits like you, And he's looking at her hands, and they look like really old and fucking weird. He pulls his mom to the side, and he like tries to tell her. But, Lon is not having it. So like, all right, let's go. And he's like, okay, yeah, you know what? Just 1 second. I need to get my toothbrush. And he walks into the bathroom, and then he's in there for like fucking ever. And Lon and his mother are like, are you okay in there? And the lady's just like, he's trying to escape. So they start breaking the door down. They open it up, and yep, the window's open. The lady just looks at her driver and goes, go get him. And that guy just fucking jumps out the window and climbs up the side of the building after the kid.
Good Lord.
They have a little mini chase on the roof, and then they are going down fire escapes and shit. Little kind of some parkour happening. This driver is obviously
inhuman.
Very on the ball. Yeah. For a human. So fuck it. The kid gets away. He's down on the street, and he runs off into the crowd. And his mom calls him. She's like, dude, you can't just fucking run away. What the fuck are you doing? Come home now. And he's like, I can't, Mom. I'll call you later. I love you. So then he goes to Dutch Hill, and he finds this old house. The one from his dream.
Uh-huh.
He walks inside, and the first thing that we notice is this big graffiti on the wall that says, All Hail the Crimson King.
There you go.
And he's like, what the fuck is that? He walks past it, and as he walks by, we can see the wall, like, move a little bit behind him. Like there's like a ripple, like something's underneath it.
Yeah.
Then he sees this weird section of wall, and he's looking at it, and then you just hear like computer shit boot up, and it's like, and then a voice goes, greetings, traveler, enter destination. And he looks over to the right, and there is a little fucking computerized panel sticking out of the wall of this super old, dilapidated house.
Yeah.
And on the screen, there are 4 spaces, so he types in what he saw in the first vision, 1919. And then this portal fucking powers up in the wall, and he can see on the other side of it is like open space. It's fucking midworld on the other side of here.
Mm-hmm.
And the computer's like, portal aligning. And it's like, what the fuck? You read the books. Was it like that?
No.
Okay. So he's looking through it, and he takes off one of his shoes and like throws it through the doorway. And, he sees it on the other side. But right then, the fucking house like turns into a big fucking demon, and like all the wood from the house and like the walls and the floors like turns into a fucking demon and like grabs onto him and is like throwing him around and trying to swallow him up and shit. And he just screams out, no! And then the whole thing just fucking explodes into splinters.
The house?
Yeah. Not the whole house, just the demon that's inside of it that is made out of the wood from the house.
Okay. Trying to prevent him from going through?
Yes.
Okay.
So now that thing's dead, he just goes through the portal. And now he's in a fucking desert. The portal closes behind him. We know he's in another world because he looks up and he sees 2 moons. And he's like, all right. He actually says out loud, this is good. This is good. So it's all real. All right.
Yeah.
Looking in the distance, he sees like all of these twisters, going through the desert.
Yeah.
Like one of them comes like real close and it leaves, and there's like this weird wreckage, that maybe it's some kind of Easter egg, but I couldn't tell what it was. Cutting back to that black pyramid, all of these computer hackers and, lackeys that run the Men in Black's empire for him.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what they are doing is they are scanning our world for psychic kids.
Okay. What are they wearing? Nerd shit?
Black jumpsuits and shit? I don't know.
Oh, they're like organized?
Yeah.
Oh.
I think the head nerd in charge is wearing nerd clothes.
Yeah. Your pocket protector and shit.
Something I don't fucking know.
Geek Squad.
Yeah, and like one of them is like a guy standing there at a computer with a big giant fucking rat face. Like he's not wearing his human mask.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And he's like talking like a man. Talking about Sector 4. So they're all talking about, new psychics that they found. What they do is they find these psychic kids. They go in they collect them in the guise of this corporation, this clinic that's going to help them. And then they just kidnap them into Midworld and use them to fuel their giant anti-tower laser.
Okay.
I find out that this actually was in the books, and these psychics were called breakers. And then all of a sudden, everybody has to shut up because the man in black comes through a fucking portal, and he's like, the man on the floor.
Nerds.
You fucking nerds. What's going on in here? All
I have
right.
returned.
And everybody's fucking terrified of him. And then this one chick, played by Abby Lee, she's like, sir, we have a, an unauthorized crossing. She's about to tell him what it was, and he's just standing there, and he just goes, I'm not fantastic at waiting. She's like, yeah, an unauthorized crossing, she's afraid of him. She tells him where it was. It's in New York City. New York City. And he walks up to her and he like touches her face and he's like, I love your mask. All right. Now, if you choose a pretty face and the world can be your oyster. He's walking by that rat guy and he's like, find a face, rat boy. You're in my house. And that guy just like runs away.
That's actually what he said?
Yeah.
Was this shit in the books?
I don't fucking know.
I never finished the series. I can't say anything if it's accurate or not. So I don't know.
So he's like, New York, huh? Okay, find me a portal nearby. And then he leaves. So now we cut back to Jake in the desert, and it's like fucking nighttime, and he is pretty fucking thirsty. He looks off into the distance at this mountain, and he just sees this tiny, teeny, tiny little lone campfire off in the distance. And he's like, all right, I guess I'll go there. It is morning by the time he reaches it, and he's like, hey. The campfire has now died down, and he can't find who started it, but the guy's stuff is still there, like his bag with some horn sticking out of it, and then a flask. He picks up the flask, opens it up, smells it first, and then he just starts chugging it. He's chugging this water, and then all of a sudden a gun fucking cocks right behind his head. It's like click, click, and you just hear Roland go, who are you?
What's your name?
Fuck you! That's my name!
Kid turns around and he's like, oh my God, it's you. You're the gunslinger, right? And he pulls out his drawing and he's like, see? I drew you. He's like, I'm not a gunslinger. Ain't no more gunslingers left. Not anymore. But wait, I came to find you. I'm from another world. And Roland is already leaving and he just goes like, have a safe trip back. He don't give a fuck. And the kid's like, wait, I know you're after the man in black. And then Roland's like, oh, you know about the man in black, huh? You were fucking sent here by him, weren't you, motherfucker? So he like picks him up by his fucking neck and holds him over a cliff. And he's like, talk, you son of a bitch. And the kid's like, no, man, I've never met him. I've just seen him in dreams, just like I saw you, man. Like, look, here's all my drawings and shit. So he convinces Roland that he's not a bad guy. And Roland's like, okay. Over those trees, there's a tribe over there. They have some pretty good seers there. They'll be able to interpret your visions. So let's go. Stick close to me. Keep up. Cuts to the man in black in New York City, and he's just walking down the road, okay? And, he's passing a little park bench with a happy little girl eating an ice cream on a stick, and she's talking to her mom. She's telling her a really happy story, and fucking Matthew McConaughey just walks by her, holds his hand up, points it at her, and just says, hate. The little girl fucking stops talking, her eyes go black for a second, and then she just looks up at her mother.
Oh, jeez.
And then it just cuts away. It was fucking great, man. Hate. All right.
Does he fit in New York?
A little bit. See, here's the thing. He's wearing black pants. He's wearing a black, I guess kind of sport jacket or something, but he's got like no shirt on under it.
Huh.
So you always see Matthew McConaughey's like short and curlies.
Yeah.
So then he goes to the old house, okay, where the portal is. He walks in, he walks by the Crimson King graffiti, and he, like, touches it. Like, he knows that guy. And he sees all the wreckage from this house demon. That's actually what they're called, turns out. And he picks up a big splinter of wood that has some blood on the edge of it. And he's like, all right. And he takes it to his evil bar in New York City. Oh. Known as the Dixie Pig. In the books, it was like a big vampire bar where they served like roast human.
Oh, wow.
and shit like that. The guy who runs it is Jackie Earl Haley.
Nice.
And he is just as fucking creeper looking as he ever is. And he's like, hey, I got something for you. I need you to, smell this blood. Tell me what's going on with it. So Jackie Earl Haley picks it up and he like smells it or fucking tastes it. I don't know. But then he's like, oh my God. Oh, whoever has this blood, their shine is pure. So it's like, oh, he's psychic and they're referring to it as the shine.
Oh, jeez.
So that is a bit of a stretch. That's too much of a reach,
Yeah.
Like that's how they're connecting the shining to it. And they refer to the shine many more times in this film.
So all these kids powering the laser are shiners.
Yeah. Shiners. Shiners? So his shine is pure, and that's Matthew McConaughey's like, oh, okay, all right. That's how we got through. Okay. Because only somebody whose shine is pure could destroy a house demon. You know what I'm saying? Then it cuts to Roland and Jake, and they are walking through a foggy forest. And they walk through all this weird, dilapidated old shit, like old, broken down, rusted out, like merry-go-rounds and fucking little mini Ferris wheels and shit. Mm-hmm. The kid is pretty hungry. He says this to Roland, and he starts fucking trying to eat some berries, and Roland's like, holy shit, man, don't do that. That shit'll kill you. I'm hungry, man. And then Roland just like fucking disappears. The kid is all by himself, and he turns around and he sees the rest of this dilapidated carnival, which has this big sign in front of it that says Pennywise. So at one point, it was in Midworld.
Yeah. So they can't make portals?
No.
These are predetermined
Yeah, they have
places,
to find them, and they're all
destinations.
computerized, and they have to type in an address like in fucking Stargate.
Oh, okay.
All right. So then Jake hears some noises, and he's looking off in the distance, and he sees these weird fucking robed figures that are like walking through the woods looking for shit. And they're obviously evil, okay? And then Roland stops him, and he's like, don't make any fucking noise, man. Jake's like, who are they? And he's like, they're the Taheen. Okay, and it turns out they're like they're another race, and their faces are kind of goblin-y looking, but they wrap them up, and they're like his foot soldiers in Midworld.
Okay.
The Man in Blacks. And then Jake's like, well, where the fuck were you, dude? And then Roland just holds up a dead rabbit, and he's like, you said you were hungry. So he's sitting there eating his rabbit, with the campfire going, and Jake's looking off at all this carnival shit, and he's like, yeah, you guys have theme parks here? And then Roland just goes, these ancient structures are from before the world moved on. No one knows what they are exactly. And Jake just goes, they're theme parks. So they're talking about, the day when Jake had his vision of, the Allstate guy. And Roland's like, I lost my father that day. Now, eat your rabbit. Doesn't want to get too close. So now it cuts to the Man in Black meeting those two clinic employees that went to go pick up Jake. And he's like, okay, so tell me what happened. I heard you lost a kid. And they're like, oh, yeah, we're so sorry. And when they first sat down with him, they were like, oh, my God, it's so wonderful to meet you in person, sir. He's like a celebrity.
Okay.
And he's like, yeah, that's great. That's great. I heard you lost a kid.
Should he be meeting with them? Shouldn't there be like upper echelons of officers that he has?
Well, he can do anything he wants. And he seems like the kind of guy that likes to take charge.
Yeah, but shouldn't he be talking to like the regional director of the...
Man, you got to calm down.
Okay.
You're the regional director of the evil empire.
I mean, I'm just like, these are foot soldiers, and he's like, he must be a good boss.
He's doing some detective work, okay? All right. And he's like, tell me who he is. And they're like, his name is Jake Chambers. And they give him his address and shit. And he's like, okay, good. And he looks at them both and he just goes, now kill each other. And he stands up and he starts walking away from him. They're in this restaurant. And as he's walking away, we see them in the background just fucking starting to grapple with each other and fucking go crazy. And everybody else starts to stand up and see what's going on. And he just looks at everybody and he's like, all right, everybody, just calm down and enjoy the show. You ain't seen nothing yet. Cuts back to Roland and Jake is like drawing in the sand, and he's drawing this particular picture which just looks like a big wagon wheel with the tower in the center of it. Mm-hmm. Roland's like, You draw with a good hand. And he's like, yeah, this is just one of my visions. I draw it all the time. I've seen this before. My father used to draw it for me. It's actually a map. And here's what it is. The tower is in the center, and there are 6 beams that are emanating out from it, okay? They're like holding up the tower, but they also hold back this ancient cosmic evil on the outside of our universe. Okay, and if the tower falls, then those beams stop, and that evil comes in, and it's like hell on earth, baby.
Okay.
And he's like, well, what's out there? Roland's like, eternal darkness, bitch. But I don't give a fuck about any of that. All that matters to me is killing Walter, who is the Man in Black. Right then, back at the Black Pyramid, the Man in Black has his kid laser fired again at the tower. Jake and Roland actually see it in the distance flying across the sky, and then there's a big fucking earthquake happening. And Jake's like, man, what the fuck is that? And then Roland's like, it's a beam quake. And as it's happening, you can hear that it's like full of screams. It's pretty cool. And it's like the kid's mental anguish that's being broadcast.
Oh, wow.
Like that's what's attacking the integrity of the tower.
Hey, laser lips! Your mama was a snowblower!
So then the kid's like, oh, that's just like the earthquakes that happened back home. And Roland's like, yes, what happens in one world echoes in all of the others. Now, get some sleep. And the kid, who is constantly plagued by all these dreams, is just like, yeah, okay, sure. So they're trying to get some sleep. Jake is like, yeah, not sleeping. Looks over at the gunslinger is laying there, fucking dead ass asleep. And he hears a voice that says, Jake, hey, kiddo. So Jake, you know what? You better get up and go investigate. Walk away from the big tough gunslinger into the foggy forest. While he does that, Roland is having dreams of his own, and the Man in Black is like right there next to him sleeping. And he's like, did you tell the boy that everyone who walks with you dies by my hand? All right. So then Roland like wakes up, but he wakes up already pointing his gun. He's a fucking badass. He's ready to kill with his heart. He looks over, doesn't see Jake, and he's like, ah, fuck. Jake is off in the woods and finds his fucking dad, who's just standing there like, hey, kiddo!
Jeez.
And Jake's like, this ain't real, man. You're, And he goes, dead? Not here, man. And then Jake's like, oh, shit, I guess it would work that way, right? Well, I've missed you too, Dad. And he's like walking towards him. Roland, who is now running through the forest. Robin Hood and Little John are running through the forest. He sees Jake standing there talking to nobody, and he's like, oh man, fuck, something's happening. Right then, from Jake's point of view, his dad like reaches out and touches him, and then there's this big giant fucking red flash, just like there was the first time the laser beam hit the tower, okay? And you can see like fucking monsters behind it trying to get out, and then one of those monsters pokes his fucking head through. And Jake is like, oh, holy shit. Because it is fucking scary looking, man. Uh-huh. And then Roland just runs in, fucking shooting the shit out of it. And it like, pow, pow, ah, kind of runs back into its big red veil.
Yeah.
Fucking runs up, fucking empties his gun into it. And then one of the coolest shots in this whole fucking movie, he just puts his gun down to the side, like near his ammo belt. And he flips it open, and he just spins the barrel and just drops 6 bullets in like less than a second. It's fucking beautiful.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that was in the book.
Yeah. His fast reload.
Yeah.
Then he hears fucking Dennis Haysbert talk to him, and he's like,
So you got a good deal on car insurance. Are you sure?
And he's like, holy shit, Dad. And then he just starts fucking shooting at him because he knows he's not real. And it's like, bam, 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 bam. And then his dad fucking turns into a monster. So he shot it, and it goes back into the veil. And Jake's like, man, what the fuck is going on here? He's like, it's a very small tear in the fabric of reality, okay? That happens every time there's a laser beam attack at the tower. And the kid's like, man, this sucks. And then Roland's like, shh. What? And then Roland just goes, something got out. And then that fucking monster is now in the real world fucking chasing them. So they gotta fucking run. Roland's trying to fucking shoot it again. And then all of a sudden it like throws something at him and pins him up against a tree. And this thing that he has shot at him is like a snake that has pierced his shoulder and is holding him up against the tree. And it's like writhing around. And he's like trying to fucking pull it out, and he's trying to cut it and shit. While he's struggling with that, the big main monster is going after Jake. And Jake's got to run and hide in all of the old fucking merry-go-rounds and fucking Ferris wheels and shit. Yeah. So he's getting away from it. Roland also dropped one of his guns on the ground. The kid's like trying to reach for it. He can't get it. Roland finally cuts the snake off and then goes and shoots the fucking monster. So they're both like all out of breath. And Roland's like, "You did well. Reaching for the gun, that was a brave thing." And the kid's just like, "Man, the fuck is happening?" So then we cut to Lon and Jake's mom coming home. I guess they were out looking for him or something. They come home, and the man in black's standing in their kitchen, and he's cooking something on their stove.
Oh, nice.
And they're like, "Excuse me." And he just turns around and he's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I hope you don't mind. I'm making myself comfortable. You know where I come from? We do not have chicken. I just love it." Lonnie's like, "Man, what the fuck's going on here?" And then the mom just stops him and she's like, "Lonnie, don't you see? That is the fucking man in black from Jake's drawings." And the man in black turns around and he's like, "Oh, really?" And he's like walking towards her because he wants to know more, right? When Lonnie like gets tough with him. And then Matthew McConaughey just goes, "Stop breathing." And then Lon just falls down dead.
Oh, jeez.
And he looks at the mother and he's like, "All right, show me." She takes him into his room, and then he sees like all of her memories with Jake. So it looks like her and him are like ghosts in the room, like walking around, and he's like drawing things and he's explaining them to her.
Yeah.
The man in black looks at all the drawings of himself, which are all pretty good. Like they look like Matthew McConaughey. And he's like, "Well, it looks like I've got myself a stalker." And he turns around and he gets up in her face and he says, "The guilt you must feel for never believing in him." And she's just sitting there and she's like starting to cry.
Yeah, that's cool.
And he goes, "And you sent your only child to an asylum." All right. And he just goes, "Shame on you." And then it just cuts away. And I was like, fuck, man. I want to see what the hell happened there. So then we cut back to Roland and Jake, and they are at a river, you know, kind of catching their breath, getting a drink. Roland is cleaning up, and he's looking at his shoulder wound, which is very, very infected. It's got all these like weird veiny looking things like growing out from it. They finally get to this town that he was talking about. Now, in the gunslinger universe, guns are like super rare. And only the gunslingers, you know, the Knights of the Round Table can carry them. So they see him walking in with guns, and they're like, "Oh, fuck. It's a fucking gunslinger, man. We thought you guys were all dead." So he's like a celebrity. And he's like, "I need to see your strongest seer." So then she shows up. And they're all talking, and some nurses are like helping him with his wound, and they're like, "Yeah, there's really nothing else we can do. You got some bad shit happening to you." And he's like, "I'm fine. I'm stronger than normal people." "What about this drawing, this pyramid shit? Okay, with these houses around it, where is that?" We cut back to the man in black, and he's talking with all of his lackeys in the Black Pyramid, and he's like, "Yeah, this kid Jake, oh man, his shine is beyond anything anybody has ever fucking felt. This kid can bring this tower down by himself. I want him." So everybody's like, on the lookout. Back with Jake, that seer that's talking to him, you know, she's a psychic. She's like, "Yeah, your shine, it's fucking amazing, man. Like, it's so strong, you were able to see across worlds. And that's how you had these dreams. That's what was going on, is you were shining, baby." And she's like, "I can shine too." And then she starts talking to him in his mind without speaking.
Yeah.
Just like Dick Halloran.
Yeah.
"You like ice cream, Doc?" So she's like, "That pyramid is north of the wastelands. Man, that is like 6 months travel." And Roland's like, "You got to get me there sooner, baby. I saw you guys have a portal here on my way in." "Yeah, but all the portal travel is monitored. You know, they'll know. They'll immediately know. So they'll just show up and take you down." And then the kid's like, "Hey, wait. So they have like bases like all over the place?" And she's like, "Yeah. Well, I live in New York City and some people came to take me. So doesn't that mean..." And then Roland's like, "They got a base in New York City." And he's like, "That's it. That's where you need to send me. You need to send me to New York on Keystone Earth. That's what they in Midworld call our world, Keystone Earth.
Okay.
So this town, which is like, remember, it's all kind of post-apocalyptic. So they have to like turn on all these old generators to power up the portal, and it's going to take a while. So Roland and Jake are sitting there eating with everybody else, and Roland's like, do they have guns in your world? And the kid's like, yeah, totally. And he goes, and bullets, are they as rare in your world as they are here? And the kid just turns them to him and goes, yeah, you're going to like Earth. So the leader of the town is like, hey man, all right, the portal's going to be ready soon. The generators are heating up and shit. And the seer walks in, and then a whole bunch of other people are like, hey, you're all going to get us in fucking trouble. Maybe we should just report him. And people are like, no, he's a gunslinger. He's pure of heart. And they look at the seer and they're like, well, you can tell. Is he pure of heart? And she's like, yeah, he's not really a gunslinger anymore. Now he is powered by revenge. And then Roland like, he's had enough of this shit. He's like, look around you. The war is over and we lost, you dumb motherfuckers. And as long as there is darkness, the tower will fall. But before that happens, I will have my revenge. So then he's walking around and he like checks his arm again, and the infection is getting much, much worse. And he's starting to sweat. So they go over to the portal, which is still like aligning, and the address of this portal is 1408. Another little Easter egg for you. While the nurses were working on him, one of them was like a teen blonde, and she looked at Jake like, hey. And he liked her too. Anyway, she's out like tending her sheep or something like that when she sees these fucking Taheen motherfuckers, remember those goblin face bitches that are all like wrapped up, start to silently invade the fucking town. So the very first thing they do is kill the fucking generator. So the portal fucking powers down, and now they're fucked.
We're going to be fucked!
Yeah, and then the man in black, he's in his pyramid, but he like goes over to a cabinet or something, opens it up, sees a whole bunch of crystal balls, okay? Pulls one out, and then he like uses it to power something up where he can like watch what's happening in the town. The fucking Eye of Sauron bullshit. Roland and the townsfolk are starting to realize what is happening, and Roland just looks at Jake and he's like, dude, go find somewhere to hide because this is going to get bad, and they are here for you. Jake's just like, okay. And then the Taheens just full on start killing and burning this whole fucking town. And it's just chaos in the streets. Man in Black sees Roland and he's like, he's there. And he's hurt. Ha ha ha. You know, his guns are forged from King Arthur of Eld or blah, blah, blah. I think the Keystone Earth people, they call it Excalibur. So we're like, whoa.
Exposition.
Yeah. So Roland is fucking shooting these Taheen motherfuckers, and he looks at the leader of the town, and he's like, you got, like, replacement parts for your generators? So, like, can you fix this shit? And the guy's like, yeah, we have parts. And fucking Roland's just like, go get the parts. So he keeps killing, and he jumps into this house, and he saves this couple. And after that, they're like, they were after our boy. Why would they be after our boy? And Roland's like, shit. Yeah, okay, so they're totally looking for Jake. Where the fuck is Jake? So he's looking for him, and he has to keep fucking fighting all these bastards. He runs out of bullets, and he's starting to do his fast reload thing when he gets knocked down by one of them. I assume he is not all too sharp right now because of his infection.
Mm-hmm.
So that guy, like, knocks all the bullets out of his hands, and they're all rolling all over the floor, and he has to get into an actual fist fight with the dude. And then he's able to find one bullet, and he loads it in and kills the guy. Jake has found that little nurse girl, and they're running from these Taheen, fucking dodging everything. Everything is burning, all right? And Roland is, like, walking out of the house that he was in, and he is, like, so fucking close to passing out. The man in black is able to talk to Roland by talking to this weird fucking hologram thing he's got up in front of him, and he just says, you couldn't save him, Roland. Ha ha ha, all right. And then Roland sees across the street, he sees Jake get taken by one of these Taheen. And it just drags him away. And Roland's like, oh shit. And then the seer shows up and helps him up. And this is that moment in the preview where he like has to stand there all super quiet. And he just like cocks his head to the side and listens. And he can hear Jake being dragged away in some field that's already outside of town. And then he just like points his gun out to the side and he's not even looking. And it zeroes in on the things that he can hear, like some like blood dripping and like a little wrench that's like, bing, bong. against some pole. Mm-hmm. And then everything else drowns out except for his heartbeat. Dum-dum, 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 dum-dum. And it starts fucking slowing down, and then it completely stops, and he fires. The bullet goes through like a fucking window, through some shirt that's hanging on a line, goes through all these fucking plants and shit, and hits that Taheen right in the fucking head, and he goes down. And Jake's just like, what the fuck? So he gets up and he runs off to Roland, and then they're like, fuck this, man. All right, so the other guys have already gotten the portal up and going, so they just jump right through. They appear in the kitchen of some restaurant in New York City. And all these cooks are like, yeah, they're cooking shit, you know, it's all hustling, bustling, steamy in there. And then everything just like fucking, everything they're working on just like blows away when Roland and fucking Jake show up. And they're all just fucking standing there. Like it was like a bomb went off, okay? The kitchen is covered in food. Roland and Jake are like, they're just all of a sudden there. And Roland just looks over at one of the cooks and he's like, he's got a knife. And fucking Jake's like, he's a chef. It's okay. Let's go. And Roland's like, giving the guy the eye. So they get outside and it's all fucking New York, New York. So Roland is like totally fucking confused. I might add, I did read that this movie is structured exactly like Last Action Hero. And it was this point at which I remembered that.
It is Last Action Hero.
It is totally Last Action Hero, man.
This is where he brings Arnold back to the real world?
Yeah.
Okay. Jesus.
Yeah. So Jake has taken Roland to the fucking hospital. And he's like, dude, you gotta give me your guns, man. You can't just walk into a hospital with guns. So he puts him in like a shopping bag and walks in with him and he's like, let me do the talking, okay? So then it just cuts to Roland on a hospital bed, like sitting up with like an IV in his arm. And this doctor lady comes in and she's making rounds. She's got all these students with her. And she's like, okay, so Mr. Deshane?
Yeah.
She's like, okay, so we ran some tests, and running samples of your blood, and we found hepatitis A, B, some other shit. And she's like, oh, and also some pretty significant radiation poisoning. And we are a little confused as to how you are even able to sit up right now. And he just goes, I'm stronger than most. She's like, okay, well, we rehydrated you, you should be okay, but we're going to keep you overnight. And he's like, he just starts ripping his IVs out. He's like, no, I can't stay here. Nope, fuck no. So he just like looks at Jake and he's like, get my guns. And everybody's like, what the fuck? And he pulls a coin out of his pocket and hands it to the doctor. And he's like, for your services. So now they have left and they're on the bus. And Jake hands him a handful of pills. And he's like, these are vitamins and painkillers. Try to take just only one at a time. And then Roland just takes all of them. And then he looks at him like, what were you going to say? And the kid just like, oh shit, hands him a can of Coke. Fucking Roland holds it up and he's just like, what is this? And Jake goes, sugar. And then Roland just fucking drinks it, looks at it, drinks the rest. Right then, what looks like a couple of fucking teenage hookers on the bus, they go, hey kid. And Jake turns around and they're looking at him and they're like, can we join this party? And then Roland just yells at them, you two have forgotten the faces of your fathers. And Jake's like, whoa, man. All right, you know what? Maybe you just shouldn't talk to anybody here. So now they're getting off the bus and they're leaving. And fucking Roland looks at him and he's like, do you have any more sugar?
Yeah, he liked Coke in the books.
Yeah.
Wasn't it Pepsi?
I do believe it was.
It's actually Pepsi that healed him from the crab attack.
Really?
Yeah, it was.
It didn't
Here
heal
comes
him.
Rick with the save, man. Holy shit.
I'm sitting here waiting for this. Like, he's at the
Crab
hospital.
attack.
Nothing's going to work. And then he just gives him a Coke and then he's good.
I think you're right about it being Pepsi. What he had also given him was some antibiotics that the drug dealer had in his medicine cabinet. That's actually what healed the infection. What the Pepsi did was it made his headache go away completely. It like made all the pain go away. And Roland had said, why would you guys want heroin if you have shit like this in your world? And he was talking about Pepsi.
Right.
We see the man in black, and now he has traveled to that town, and he goes and finds the seer, and he's like, tell me where you sent him, baby. All right. And she's like, oh, key. And he's like, Keystone Earth? Yeah, okay, I got it. And then he just kills her.
Oh.
I'm going to back up a second into the hospital, where they were sitting there waiting for the doctor to walk in. Roland's like watching the television, and there's a commercial on with like a couple of raccoons digging through garbage, talking to each other. And Roland just looks at Jake and he's like, do the animals still talk in your world? And Jake looks up at the TV and he's like, what? No, man, that's a commercial. And then the doctor comes in and starts talking about hepatitis and shit. But at that last second, you just see Jake turn around and go, wait, what do you mean still? So now Roland and Jake, they go to Jake's house, and he's like, I gotta find my mom, man. I gotta make sure she's okay. They walk inside, they immediately find Lon dead on the ground. And Jake is like, oh, fuck, mom, where are you? And he runs into his room, and on the floor of his bedroom, we just see a fucking burnt black spot on his floor that's just like full of ashes. And he just collapses into it, and he's crying, man. And it's pretty sad. He's like, Mom, no. And Roland's looking around the room and sees on the wall that someone has dipped their finger in the ashes and written on the wall, hello there, and then drew a fucking happy face.
So his mom's gone.
Yeah, she did. So Jake starts shining, and he starts trying to like see how his mom died. Roland sees that happening. He's like, no, man, stop. You don't do it, man. They can track you by your shining, okay? Don't see it. Don't look at it. That's what he wants. And then Jake's like, he killed her. He killed her. And Roland's like, I know, man. I know. And then Roland fucking picks him up and holds him like he's his child, and he just fucking walks out of the room with him. Cuts to them up on the roof, and Jake's just sitting there crying, and Roland looks at him and he's like, I will kill him for both of us. And Jake's like, what about the tower, man? You know, my mom died so you could have your revenge? Fuck that shit. You know, you said as long as there's darkness, the tower's in danger, okay? I know your world's fucked, all right, but mine's not, okay? Millions of people are gonna fucking die if we don't fucking stop this. So if that's true that you're not a gunslinger anymore, then fuck you. You know what? Here. And he shows him on his phone the GPS location of the Dixie Pig. And he's like, here, do whatever you want. I'm fucking leaving. So then Roland follows him downstairs, and now they're in some like abandoned warehouse or something. And Roland, as a way of like smoothing things over after the fight, and you know, him losing his mom, Roland teaches him how to shoot. So they're standing there shooting at cans and bottles and shit, and Roland recites the creed. He's like, I do not aim with my hand. He who aims with his hand has forgotten the face of his father. And then the kid starts like repeating what he's saying, and they keep doing it, and every time they say one of the things, you know, they shoot a bottle, and by the end, the kid is fucking shooting bottles with this giant fucking 6-shooter. And they're both like, I do not kill with my gun. And the kid's like, I kill with my heart. So Roland's like, yeah, all right, man. Pretty good shot. You're a good little gunslinger. But the shine, that's your weapon. And he takes his gun back, and he's like, the guns are mine. So now they're going to find the man in black, right? So they're going to need some bullets. So they go into a gun shop, and there's this guy just fucking standing there behind the counter, and Roland just walks in with his gun already fucking pointed at the motherfucker, and he walks up and he's like, 45 caliber rounds. Where are they? And the guy's like, are you, whoa, hang on, man. Are you, and then the kid's like, yeah, don't fuck with him, man. And Roland goes, I'll take all that you have. So the guy puts the boxes of rounds on the counter, and Roland just opens them up and dumps them into his fucking pockets. And the guy's like, what the fuck? So they turn around to leave. The kid gets outside the door when Roland hears fucking Man in Black go, hello, Roland. All right. And then the fucking security gate for the storefront slams shut, and it separates Jake and Roland. Roland turns around, sees the Man in Black, and shoots at him, but the bullet just passes through him. So he's obviously just projecting his image there. Mm-hmm. And then the owner starts fucking shooting at him with a shotgun. And Roland's like, oh, motherfucker. And he starts like dodging the bullets, and he aims his gun to kill the guy when the guy just is still shooting at him, but then says, "It's not me, man. It's not me. I'm not doing this. Oh my God." And he just keeps shooting at him. So then Roland's like, "Oh, okay. All right. I better fucking not kill him." So he has to dodge all of his shots. And then he just finally just shoots the barrel of his shotgun and knocks it out of his hands. And he looks through the gate at Jake and he's like, "Jake, run." And then Jake starts running through the fucking city. And it's like everybody in the city stops and is like looking at him. So, he's probably screwed. And he starts running, and then, he gets fucking taken. As he's being taken, he shines out to Roland, and he's like, "Roland!" Like in his mind.
Yeah.
So Roland knows he's going to be taken to the Dixie Pig. They found the Dixie Pig, by the way, by going and tracking down the homeless bum that was talking to Jake earlier in the movie. It turned out that he had been kidnapped as well, but somehow he got away. So the man in black has Jake, and he takes him through the Dixie Pig's portal into the Black Pyramid to go and hook him up into the chair. As he's going through the portal, he turns back to Jackie Earle Haley, and he's like, "Have a great apocalypse." Jake is like shining to Roland, and he's like showing him the address for the Black Pyramid. And then Roland is able to talk back to him, and he's like, "Hang on, I'm coming. So then Roland has to fight his motherfucking way through the Dixie Pig, and he has to just kill everybody. And now they have like big giant professional SWAT team in there waiting for him. And he's running around fucking jumping in the air, shooting these motherfuckers. He's doing his speed reload all over the place. In the gun shop, he had picked up an ammo belt with just little cartridges of, 6 barrel rounds that he can just pop right into the barrel of his 6-shooter.
Yeah.
Which is not at all as cool as his fast reload from earlier. But he can do things like throw the cartridges up in the air and then catch them with the gun and then click it shut all in like one swoop.
Yeah, trailer moment.
Yeah. So they're doing this, and, he's got all this fantastic gun work that Idris Elba fucking trained for and did all this shit. It's pretty cool. One guy attacks him with a knife, and he has to, like, deflect it with his guns. At one point, there's a sniper that's like taking aim at him, and we see through his scope, and he is gonna fucking shoot Roland. And in the scope, Roland just turns around, looks up at him, and just shoots him through it. And he picks up a propane tank, throws it over the side, like into a crowd of people, and then just shoots it and blows them all up.
A crowd of bad guys?
Yeah.
Okay.
Everybody in the Dixie Pig is bad.
All right. Why do they need a sniper in the Dixie Pig?
He was part of their fucking... what did I call him?
SWAT.
Yeah, he's part of their SWAT team. So the man in black, he's dragging Jake through the portal, and he takes him up to the chair, and he's like holding him down, and they're strapping him in and shit.
You gotta stay relaxed. Yeah. You jerk off?
And so they turn it on, and fucking Jake's beam, his chair powers up, and it takes all of his psychic energy out of his head, and Jake alone is enough to power the beam to shoot off towards the Dark Tower.
I myself, I jerk off at least twice a day.
And, it hits the fucking Dark Tower, and we see the big red flash with all the monsters behind the veil and shit.
Mm-hmm.
It's so powerful that people in New York City can see it. And they're all like, "What the fuck?" This is like fucking giant monsters in the sky. And then his lackeys, they're all running the computers, for the forces of evil.
Yeah.
They're like, "Hey, something's happening here. He's, and then the man in black walks up and he's like, "He's fighting it. He's fighting back a little, isn't he?" Ha ha ha. So he goes up to the kid and he's like talking about his mother or something, throwing that shit in his face, and he makes him really angry. So him being mad, he's not able to fight back against the laser thing anymore. So the laser gets like even more powerful. And the Dark Tower is like fucking shaking and shit. And the man in black is like, yeah, that's it. All right. So now Roland is just about to the portal, and he has to fight Jackie Earle Haley. And they end up like flying out a window and shit and falling through the roof of a bus. And, he gets out and fucking, I don't know, he kills him somehow. And Roland finally makes it to the portal. On the other side, in Midworld, all the lackeys are like, "Hey, this portal is open. Close that shit. The fucking gunslinger's going to come through here." Somebody tries to close it, and they're like, "Whoa, man, we can't. It won't close." And then another person is like, "It's the kid. The kid is keeping it open." And then the man in black is like, impressive. All right. So then he just walks through the portal and finally faces Roland. And he's like, you want me to face you, old friend? All right, here we go. So they start fighting.
Bust him up! Bust his chops!
Yeah, Stephen King.
Yeah. So Roland, he just fucking empties his guns at him. And fucking the man in black just like, well, uses magic and pulls a whole bunch of rocks out of the ground, and he just creates a shield of rocks in front of himself, and then all the bullets just bounce off of him. So Roland's running around, and this is where he does the thing where he throws the cartridges up in the air and catches them in his guns. So he starts firing again. This time, the man in black has created a shield of broken shards of glass in front of himself. So all the bullets bounce off of that shit, and then he just takes one of those shards and just shoots it at Roland, and it pierces Roland's left palm. So he drops his gun and he's like, fuck! He's rolling around on the ground like, oh shit, man, I can only use one gun now. And he's shooting at him and it's still not fucking working. Now there's no shield, but the man in black is just like, you know what? Fuck this. And just catches his bullets, like one at a time out of the air, like in slow motion. It's pretty fucking cool. Then Roland, he's like rolling around on the ground. And then the man in black just fucking starts throwing his bullets back at him. And one of them goes through his right palm. So he totally fucking goes down and he's like, shit. He starts throwing his fucking bullets at him and he's like shooting him. He can throw them with the power of them being fired out of a gun.
Yeah.
So Roland fucking goes down and the man in black is like, all right, it's time to use my fire hand. So his hand gets all on fire and, he starts walking towards Roland, and Roland is fucking defeated. Like, he is going to be killed by the man in black. When Jake starts shining to him, and he shines the creed to him, and he's like, I do not aim with my gun. I aim with my fucking brain. I don't fucking know. And Roland's like, I kill with my heart. So then, with his busted up hand, he lifts his gun one more time. Man in black's just walking to him, all right? And he just fires. The bullet comes out in slow motion, and the man in black is like, you fucking dumb shit. I just showed you I can catch your bullets. So he's walking up, and he puts his hand up to catch that bullet when Roland fires again. But he doesn't fire at the man in black this time. He fires at the fucking wall. The bullet hits the wall, ricochets off, goes in front of the man in black, hits the bullet that he had previously fired, and deflects it right into the man in black's fucking heart.
Oh, nice.
The man in black is like, oh, fuck. All right. So he's obviously like, oh, shit. Roland gets up. Everything's in normal speed now. Roland gets up and just starts fucking firing into him over and fucking over. And the man in black just like, oh, shit, just falls back into the portal.
Yeah.
Just then, Roland can see Jake through the portal in his machine, firing the laser beam. So he starts shooting at the chair and, unlocks his restraints, knocks him off, and then he grabs Jake, pulls him through the portal, and then they close the fucker. So it's like, oh, whew, okay, we're done. So then we cut to some shots of the city, and we hear, radio broadcasts where they're like, yeah, we saw something in the sky. Something happened, Thousands of New Yorkers saw this shit. There was red monsters in the sky. What the hell's going on here? So the world's dealing with that. And now we hear Jake say to Roland, here you go. And we see Roland take whatever Jake is offering him. And he's like, what is this? Jake goes, it's a hot dog. Roland goes, savages. And then he just takes a fucking bite and he's eating it. And he looks at Jake and he's like, what breed? What breed of dog is this? And Jake's like, what? No, man, there's no breed. So then Roland's just like, fucking keep eating that shit. So then he looks at Jake and he's like, I have to leave here, Jake. Jake's like, I know. Why don't you come with me? And he's like, wait, what? And Roland's like, there's nothing for you here. Besides, I could use your help, gunslinger. And the kid's like, yeah, you know what? Yeah, okay. So then they finish their hot dogs, and then they go and walk in some door that's right next to them. And then the camera doesn't leave. We just see the outside of that building, and then we just see some light flashing from the windows. And then the credits roll, baby. Yeah.
Nice. Good job, man.
Thanks. Now, for some reason, MediaStinger.com didn't have the stingers posted yet for this one, so I still waited just to make sure there were no stingers.
Oh, yeah.
And after the credits, you just hear the man in black whistling again. So we know he's not dead.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Yeah, so there you have it, man. There's The Dark Tower on Movies with Ron. I'll tell you what, it was a lot more fun to tell you this movie than it was to watch it.
Yeah, this is why we made this show.
Yeah. I did not hate this movie, but I didn't love it either.
I still want to see the gun slinging. I want to see that shootout.
Oh, yeah, all that shit was so fucking impressive.
Yeah, I think the NRA made this movie.
Yeah.
But if we're going to do this shit, I can't count how many times you said the word shine and shining and shit.
I know.
I don't know if the kid from the book had that, but we should just do a whole Stephen King extended universe if we're doing this.
Yeah, people want that. They want them to connect the It movie to this.
Yeah.
But that's another studio doing that movie.
Man in Black's got the drop on Roland, you know. It's got him pinned down. But then like a portal opens up and fucking Cujo comes
Yeah.
fucking saves him. Okay. Let's take a look at the official discussion on Reddit. Most voted comment.
Uh-huh.
I did a double feature of Valerian and the Dark Tower and lived to tell the tale. Let's see. This was like the pilot episode to a mediocre show on CBS that would be canceled after half a season.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay, here's a doozy. My husband and I went. My husband has never read the books. I have read the series 4 times. Fucking 4 times.
Wow.
My house is decorated in Dark Tower merchandise.
Oh, shit.
And I am well and truly a Tower junkie. No one thought going into the movie that the story was going to be terribly faithful. Oh, the crabs, they're called lobstrosities.
All right. I heard there was a nod to the lobstrosities in the movie somewhere, but I must have missed it.
Yeah. She goes on, this took the Dark Tower and stripped it of everything that makes it what it is. This isn't the Dark Tower. This is the Divergent series with more 19s thrown in it.
Oh.
This is an angry wife right here.
Oh, yeah.
Here's one from Pack Moron. This movie could have spawned a franchise that would have lasted a decade and made hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yeah.
Instead, because of pure incompetence, this franchise will have to wait a decade or more before having another chance. What a fucking shame.
I know.
I think this guy's complaining because at least you only have to wait a decade. At least we're on the ball that way.
Yeah.
Like we can reboot something.
Yeah, I was like, Peter Jackson, where are you?
All right, from Fatigued Badger. This was supposed to come out in January, and I believe it was delayed because of poor test screenings and the need for reshoots. So what the hell did they reshoot, and why is this still a big fat steaming turd?
Yeah.
I think it was the room of hackers. We need more hackers.
Yeah, probably. Give one of them a rat face.
Hey, boss.
Yeah.
Mr. Black.
Shut up, rat boy.
I'll tell you what, though, while we're on a Stephen King kick, I'm excited about It.
Yeah. I haven't seen the new trailer, but I hear it's amazing.
Dude, the new trailer's got this part where the beginning, I'm not spoiling anything.
Okay.
The kid's paper boat goes down the drain.
Yeah, Georgie.
Yeah. So Pennywise pops up,
Mm-hmm.
and he's offering the boat back to the boy. And I'm going to try and perform it.
Okay.
Because there's a little thing in how he says it.
All right.
And it's the creepiest fucking shit you will ever see.
Ah, shit.
You will go and watch this after I do it. He offers the boat and he goes, "Here, take it." Fucking seriously, the little t at the end. Oh man, watch the new trailer for It.
Damn, all right.
I can't wait till it comes out.
All right, cool.
Everyone's talking about all the stuff from the book that they're seeing in the trailer.
Yeah.
It makes me want to read the book. But stuff that they never got in that 2-part miniseries.
Yeah.
So, man, this is going to be good.
All right.
Yeah. All right. Well, if you're listening, you're not going to go see this. Hopefully. But if you want to see a good Matthew McConaughey movie, folks listening out there, go see Killer Joe.
Is this a recommendation for the first time in forever?
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
Go see Killer Joe. It's fucking awesome.
Is that the one where he makes the girl suck the chicken leg?
That is exactly the one.
All right.
Directed by William Friedkin, who made The Exorcist.
Oh, yeah.
All right, folks. If you're on Apple Podcasts, go ahead and leave us a rating and review. We'd really appreciate it. We're also on Google Play Music, Stitcher, all your favorite podcast apps. You've got movieswithron.com. We're on Twitter and Instagram at movieswithron. There's a Facebook page. It's been fun.
Yeah, we love you.
Take care, guys.
Movies with Ron.
It is said that only a child can bring it down. And then it says, The Dark Tower. Oh, no? This movie had bwongs in it.
Really?
Forgot to tell you to lift one out of the sample, out of the preview. We should keep a bwong. And it should be the one from The Dark Tower. It's like better than the...
Really?
Yeah.
I do not kill with my gun. I kill with my heart.
All right. Still not as good.
Fuck that. And in the preview, when that happens, Idris Elba just turns his head.